The night sky was full of stars when the small human ship entered the alien system. The engineer sat at the controls, checking numbers and lights, making sure everything was safe. He was tired, but he had to stay awake. The mission was important. The ship carried tools, machines, and data. His job was simple: reach the research station. But suddenly, alarms screamed. The ship shook hard. The lights flickered red. Something invisible had pulled them off course. His hands moved fast, pressing buttons, turning switches, trying to fix. The engine roared like a wounded beast. Sparks burst from the control panel. "Hold together." "Just hold together," he whispered. But the ship didn't listen. Through the small window, he saw fire and smoke outside. A massive pull dragged the ship toward the surface of a strange planet below. He tried one last time to send a distress signal, but the screen only showed static. Then impact, the world went black. When he opened his eyes, silence filled the cabin. His head hurt, blood trickled down his cheek. The air smelled of smoke and metal. With shaking hands, he unbuckled himself and crawled out. The ship was broken, twisted, half buried in the ground. The planet around him was strange. The sky was not blue, but a deep glowing purple, with two moons shining faintly above. Trees with crystal-like branches rose high, glowing in the dark. The ground was covered with plants that moved as if alive, breathing slowly. The engineer limped forward, holding his arm. He was alive, but for how long? He needed water, food, and shelter. He looked back at the broken ship. Most systems were dead. Maybe he could repair something later. But first, he had to survive the night. Then he heard it. A sound. It was not the wind, not an animal. It was footsteps. He froze. His heart beat fast. His hands searched for a tool, a weapon, anything. He found a broken metal rod and held it tight. From behind the glowing trees, a figure stepped out. Tall, slim, moving with grace. The light from the plants showed her face, an alien female. Her skin had a faint silver glow, her eyes large and bright, reflecting the strange moons. She wore torn fabric that looked like it was not from this world. The engineer's breath caught. He had never seen a being like her. She looked at him with the same shock, the same fear. For a long moment, they both stood still, staring at each other, waiting for the other to move. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was soft but broken, as if she struggled with his language. "You stay alive." The words sent chills through him. How did she know human words? Who was she? Before he could answer, a loud roar shook the night. From the shadows of the forest, creatures moved. Their shapes were unclear long arms, glowing eyes, teeth sharp like knives. They were coming closer. Fast. The alien female looked at him, eyes wide with warning. She pointed at the forest, then at him. "Run," she cried. Without thinking, he followed her. She grabbed his hand, pulling him with surprising strength. They rushed through the glowing trees, past strange rocks, past plants that reached out like claws. Behind them, the creatures screamed, chasing, hungry for prey. The ground shook under their feet. The sky flashed with strange lightning. The engineer's lungs burned, his legs weak, but the alien female did not stop. She moved like she knew the land, as if she had done this before. Finally, she pushed him into a hollow under a giant crystal tree. They crouched low, breathing hard. The creatures passed by, their glowing eyes scanning the dark. But they did not see them. Silence returned. The engineer looked at her. She was not human, yet she had saved him. Why? She looked back at him, her silver eyes glowing softly. For the first time, he noticed her arm was bleeding. She was wounded, just like him. The engineer whispered, "Who are you?" She tilted her head, not answering. Then she touched her chest and said one word. A name. He repeated it slowly, unsure if he said it right. She nodded. Then she pointed at him, waiting. He told her his name. For a moment, the fear between them grew smaller. Two strangers from two worlds, but both stranded here. The alien female looked toward the forest, her face dark with worry. She whispered in her broken voice, "The planet hunts at night." The words chilled him more than the creatures, because now he understood this place was alive. And it wanted them gone. The night was heavy with silence after the roar of the creatures. The engineer sat inside the hollow of the crystal tree, breathing hard. His chest rose and fell, his hand still gripping the broken metal rod. Beside him, the alien female stayed very still, her glowing eyes watching the forest. Then, without warning, the silence broke. A scream tore through the night. Not human, not animal, but something wild and terrible. The ground shook as the creatures returned, moving closer again. Their glowing eyes appeared between the trees, searching. The alien female's face hardened. She reached out, grabbed the engineer's arm and pulled him to his feet. "Not safe," she whispered. He wanted to ask questions. "Who are you? What is this place?" But there was no time. The creatures were hunting. She pulled him again, and he followed, his legs weak, but his fear stronger. They ran deeper into the forest. The trees glowed brighter, as if the planet itself was awake and watching. Strange plants curled back as they passed, opening wide like mouths. Some even hissed. The engineer almost tripped over a root, but the alien female caught him, her grip strong. Her touch felt strange warm, yet sharp, like energy was flowing under her skin. At last, she stopped. They reached a clearing with stones, arranged in a circle. Strange symbols glowed faintly on them. The engineer stared. It looked like ruins, maybe very old, but she did not go inside the circle. She stopped just before it and whispered in her broken English, "No step. Death place." He swallowed hard and nodded. Before he could ask more, the creatures appeared at the edge of the clearing. Dozens of them, tall and thin, their mouths full of teeth. Their bodies shimmered like smoke and shadow. The engineer raised his metal rod, ready to fight, even though he knew it was useless. The alien female did something different. She closed her eyes, placed her hands on the ground, and whispered in her own language. The stones in the circle began to glow brighter, pulsing with strange light. The creatures hissed. They did not step closer. They growled, circled, but did not enter the glow of the ruins. After a long moment, they faded back into the dark. The engineer stared at her in shock. "You? How?" he whispered. She opened her eyes slowly, sweat shining on her silver skin. She looked tired, weak. "Old power," she said. "Not mine." For the first time since the crash, they were safe. The engineer dropped the metal rod and sat on the ground. His body ached, his head spun, but he could not stop staring at her. She sat across from him, touching her bleeding arm. Her wound was deep, glowing faintly with strange energy. He wanted to help, but he had nothing. No medicine, no tools. Only his mind, his hands, and the broken things left from the crash. He tore a piece of his shirt and offered it to her. She looked at it, then at him, as if surprised. Slowly, she took it. She pressed it against her wound. For a moment, their eyes met again. Something silent passed between them, fear, but also trust. "Thank you," she whispered. He nodded. "We help each other." Hours passed. The forest was quieter now, though strange lights still moved in the distance. The engineer tried to rest, but his mind was too loud. Questions circled inside his head. Who was she? How did she know some human words? Why did she save him? Finally, he spoke softly, careful with his words. "You speak human. How?" She looked at him for a long time before answering. "Long ago. Ship fall. Like you." She touched her chest. "I learn little." His eyes widened. She had crashed here too. She had been stranded, just like him. "How long?" he asked. Her face darkened. She looked up at the two moons, her silver eyes reflecting their light. "Many, many cycles." She whispered. The engineer's stomach turned cold. She had been trapped here for years, maybe decades. And now, so was he. Suddenly, a noise broke, the silence a soft beeping. The engineer's head snapped up. His hand went to his pocket. It was his broken communicator. The screen flickered weakly, showing a single line of static. But through the noise, for one brief second, he heard something. Signal. Alive. Hold. Then it died. His heart raced. Someone had heard him. Someone out there knew he was alive. But when he looked at the alien female, her face was not happy. It was afraid. She shook her head. "No good. Signal. Bring. Hunters." He frowned. "Hunters." She touched the glowing stones around them and whispered, "This planet. Not want us leave." Her words sent a cold shiver through him, because now he realized she was not just another survivor. She knew the planet better than anyone. And if she was right, rescue might not be salvation. It might be another trap. The sky was changing. The two moons were sinking, and a strange red glow spread across the horizon. Dawn on this alien planet was not soft, it was violent. The air shook with low rumbles, and the glowing trees bent as if bowing to something. Unseen, the engineer sat inside the stone circle, staring at the silent communicator in his hands. He had tried again and again, pressing buttons, fixing wires, but it was no use. The screen stayed dark. The hope he felt last night faded into heavy silence. Across from him, the alien female sat with closed eyes. Her silver skin looked pale, her wounded arm wrapped in cloth. She was resting, but her body moved with the slow rhythm of pain. He wanted to ask her 1,000 questions, but he kept quiet. Instead, he studied the planet around him. He saw how the glowing plants closed their petals at sunrise. He saw creatures crawling back into the shadows, afraid of the light. This world was alive in ways he did not understand. Then, her voice broke the silence. "You plan." The engineer looked up, surprised. Her English was broken, but the meaning was clear. What was his plan? He sighed. "I need to fix the ship. Maybe send signal. Maybe leave this place." Her eyes narrowed. "Leave." "No leave." He frowned. "Why not?" She pointed at the ground, at the forest, at the sky. "Planet, hold. You, same. Me?" He shook his head. "No, I am human. I build, I fix. There is always a way." She looked at him for a long time, then gave a small smile. "Then, we see." The engineer stood and stretched his aching body. "I need tools, parts." Back at my ship, her face grew sharp. "Night hunters. Still near." He nodded. "Then we go together." She tilted her head, silver eyes studying him. "Together? Yes, we help each other. I can fix things. You know this world. Alone, we die. Together, maybe we live." For a moment, she said nothing. Then, slowly, she placed her hand on his chest. Her touch was light, but her meaning was heavy. "Survival. Pact," she whispered. He nodded. "Survival pact." They left the safety of the stones and walked back toward the wreck of his ship. The forest was different in daylight. The glowing trees dimmed, but the plants whispered softly as they passed. Some leaves followed them like eyes. The engineer felt the planet watching. At the crash site, smoke still rose from the broken ship. Metal lay scattered, sharp and blackened. The engineer rushed forward, climbing inside, searching through the ruins. He found scraps of wire, a half-broken battery, and a small toolkit. His hands moved quickly, mind full of plans. He could rebuild a signal booster. It would take time, but it was possible. Behind him, the alien female explored carefully. She touched the ship's metal with her glowing fingers, frowning. "This, dead, not dead," he said, shaking his head. "Just broken. I can fix." She raised an eyebrow. "Human, always fix." He gave a small smile. "It's what I do." While he worked, she watched the forest. Eyes never rested. Suddenly, she stiffened. Her silver skin shimmered slightly. "Something? Come." The engineer froze. "Hunters." She shook her head. "Not hunters. Different." From the trees came a strange sound, like heavy breathing. A shadow moved closer. The engineer grabbed his metal rod again. Ready? But when the creature stepped out, his eyes widened. It was huge, with 4 legs and a body covered in scales that glowed faintly. Its face had no eyes, only a mouth full of sharp teeth. It sniffed the air and growled. The alien female raised her hand, glowing energy sparking between her fingers. "Stay back," she warned, but the beast lunged. The engineer swung his metal rod, hitting its leg. The creature roared. The alien female released a blast of energy, striking its chest. The light burned across its scales, and it stumbled back. Together, they fought her with power, him with skill and courage. Finally, the beast turned and fled into the forest, howling. The engineer fell to his knees, breathing hard. She stood over him, her body glowing faintly from the energy she used. He looked up at her, amazed. "You saved me again." She shook her head. "We save each other." When the forest grew quiet again, they returned to the wreck. The engineer tied wires, connected circuits, and built a small signal device. It was weak, but it gave a faint pulse of light. "See," he said, smiling. "Not dead." She looked at the blinking light, then at him. For the first time, she smiled too. But her smile faded quickly. She touched his shoulder and spoke softly. "Signal not only call help, signal also call danger." He swallowed hard. He wanted to argue, but deep down, he knew she was right. Still, he turned on the device, because he was human. And humans did not give up. That night, as the 2 moons rose again, the engineer and the alien female sat by the broken ship. They had no fire, no food, only trust beginning to grow between them. The survival pact was made. But in the distance, something answered the signal. A low hum, like a machine. Or, like something older, the next day was not quiet. The signal device blinked with weak light, sending its silent call into the sky. The engineer sat close to it, watching every flicker, hoping. But the alien female did not share his hope. Her silver eyes stayed on the forest, full of worry. "This planet?" "Listen," she whispered. He frowned. "What do you mean, listen?" She touched the ground with her hand. The soil shimmered faintly under her skin. "Alive. Planet here. Planet answer." The engineer wanted to laugh, but he didn't. He had already seen too much. The creatures, the strange storm, the ruins with glowing stones. This world was not normal. They walked deeper into the forest that afternoon, searching for food and clean water. The trees grew taller, their crystal-like branches reaching to the red sky. Strange fruits glowed like lanterns, hanging heavy. The engineer reached for one, but the alien female grabbed his wrist. "No." He raised an eyebrow. "Why?" "It looks safe." She shook her head. "Safe for me, not for you." He sighed, stepping back. Hunger burned in his stomach, but he trusted her warning. Then, as they moved further, he saw something new: stone. Pillars, half buried in the ground, covered with glowing symbols. They were tall, arranged in lines, like a road. "What is this?" Kay asked softly. The alien female's face grew pale. She did not step closer. "Old ones. They were here." "Before? Before who?" She looked at him, her eyes heavy with fear. "Before all," the engineer could not resist. He touched the surface of one stone. It was warm, pulsing softly, almost like a heartbeat. Strange lines lit up under his fingers, spreading like fire. Suddenly, his head filled with visions. He saw skies burning, ships falling, and tall beings with glowing eyes walking across the land. He stumbled back, gasping. The alien female rushed to him, grabbing his shoulders. "I said, no touch." She cried. I saw something," he stammered. "Like memories. From this place." Her eyes darkened. The stones show truth, but truth dangerous. He shook his head, still dizzy. "What happened here? Who built this?" She was silent for a long moment. Then she whispered, "Not built. Grown." As the sun sank, the forest changed again. The glowing fruits closed, the ground began to hum, and shadows stretched long. Hurried back toward the ship, but the road of stones pulled at the engineer's thoughts. That night, he could not sleep. He sat by the blinking signal device, staring at the forest. The alien female sat beside him, her eyes closed, but he knew. She was not sleeping either. Finally, he spoke. "These ruins, you knew about them. Why didn't you tell me?" She opened her eyes slowly. "Because they are test." "Test?" She nodded. "Planet test all who land. Some pass, most not." The word struck him like a hammer. Mind spun. "You mean this planet brings ships down on purpose?" Her face was empty, almost sad. "Yes." Before he could respond, the signal device crackled. A faint voice whispered through static. "Survivor, location. Respond." The engineer's heart leaped. He grabbed the device. "Yes, I'm here. I'm alive." But before he could say more, the ground beneath him shook violently. Cracks spread across the soil, glowing with the same light as the ruins. The alien female grabbed his arm, her face full of fear. "I said, the planet listens." The cracks widened. From the ground rose figures of stone and light shapes of warriors, tall and faceless, carrying weapons made of glowing crystal. Their eyes burned like fire. The engineer stumbled back. What are they?" She whispered one word. "Guardians." The guardians moved forward, silent but powerful. The air around them shimmered. The engineer raised his metal rod. But it felt like holding a stick against a storm. The alien female stepped in front of him, her hands glowing. She spoke in her language, her voice echoing like thunder. The guardian stopped, watching her. For a moment's silence, then, slowly, the light in their eyes dimmed. They turned, melting back into the cracks of the earth. The ground closed. The forest was silent again. The engineer fell to his knees, shaking. They were going to kill us. She looked down at him, her silver eyes glowing faintly. "Not kill. Judge." His breath caught. "Judge for what?" She looked toward the sky, where the two moons shone. Her voice was heavy, like a weight. "Judge if you belong." That night, as the signal device blinked faintly, the engineer realized something terrifying. It was not just the creatures or the storms or the hunger. The planet itself was watching him, testing him, and it would decide if he deserved to live or not. The sky turned black without warning. One moment it was calm, the next it was chaos. The two moons disappeared behind swirling clouds. Red lightning split the sky, flashing across the land like claws. The air grew heavy, hard to breathe, as if the planet itself was angry. The engineer looked up in shock. "What's happening?" The alien female's silver eyes widened. Her voice was tense. "Storm, not sky storm. Planet storm." Before he could ask more, the wind roared. It was not normal wind. It carried glowing dust, sharp as glass. The forest screamed as trees bent and shattered. The ground shook. "Shelter." She shouted. They ran toward the wreck of the ship. But before they reached it, lightning struck nearby, splitting the earth. The ground opened, swallowing trees whole. The ship tilted, sliding into the crack. The engineer's heart dropped. Their last hope is tools. His signal device gone. The alien female grabbed his arm, pulling him away. "No time? Come." They found a cave hidden beneath jagged rocks. They stumbled inside as the storm howled outside. Darkness wrapped around them, broken only by faint blue light from crystals on the cave walls. The engineer collapsed to the ground, chest burning from the run. The alien female leaned against the wall, her silver skin bruised, her wound bleeding again. For a long time, they said nothing. Only the storm's roar filled the cave. Finally, he whispered, "We've lost everything." She shook her head. "Not everything. Still breath, still fight." He looked at her, surprised. Her voice was firm, strong, even as blood dripped from her arm. She had lost more than him, her people, her years, and yet she still spoke of fighting. The cave shook as the storm raged. Small stones fell from above. The engineer moved closer to her, worried the roof might collapse. He noticed her trembling. Not from fear, but from exhaustion. Without thinking, he tore another piece of his shirt and pressed it to her wound. She tried to pull away, but he held firm. "Stop. You helped me. Now I help you." Her glowing eyes softened. Slowly, she let him as he wrapped the cloth. He felt the strange heat of her skin, like energy pulsing under it. Not human warmth, something deeper, alive with the planet itself. "Your body," he whispered. "It's connected to this world, isn't it?" She looked away. "Yes, part of me. Not mine. Part of me. Planet?" His chest tightened. She was not only a survivor. She was something more, something the planet had made or chosen. Hours passed. The storm did not end. The cave walls glowed with eerie light, casting their shadows. On the stone, the engineer sat beside her, silent, his mind heavy. He thought of home Earth, his people, his life as an engineer. It all felt far away now, almost like a dream. He turned to her. "Do you ever think about leaving, if you could?" Eyes flickered with pain. "Long ago, yes. Now, no. Planet not let go. Planet inside me. But you saved me," he said firmly. "That means you're more than this planet. You chose." She studied him for a long time. Then, softly, she asked, "And you? If rescue come, you leave." The question cut deep. He opened his mouth, but no words came. The storm grew worse. The wind screamed through the cave's cracks, carrying voices, echoes of screams, laughter, whispers. The engineer covered his ears. "What is that?" Her face was pale. "Planet speak. Test heart." He shivered. The storm was not only breaking trees and stone, it was breaking minds. Without thinking, he reached for her hand. Her fingers were long, strange, not human, but warm. She flinched at first, then slowly gripped his hand back. In that dark cave, surrounded by chaos, they held onto each other. Ours turned into a full night. When the storm finally passed, silence returned. The two moons reappeared. casting soft light through the cave's entrance. The engineer and the alien female sat together, still holding hands. For the first time since the crash, the fear inside him eased. For the first time since her long years of being stranded, her loneliness softened. They had begun as strangers, but now, through storm and blood, through danger and fear, a bond was forming. Not just survival, something stronger. The engineer closed his eyes, whispering, "We'll survive. Together." The alien female leaned closer, her silver eyes glowing softly. She whispered back, "Together." Outside, the forest was silent. But deep below, the planet stirred, as if it had seen their bond and was preparing its next test. The storm was gone, but the planet was not calm. The engineer and the alien female left the cave at dawn. The forest looked new, as if the storm had reshaped it. Trees that once glowed stood broken, their crystals scattered across the ground. Strange pools of liquid shimmered where the earth had cracked open. The air smelled heavy, like metal and fire. The engineer carried what little he had salvaged, small bag with broken wires, scraps of metal, and the silent communicator. His hope was fading, but he still clung to it. The alien female walked beside him, silent, her silver eyes scanning the land. She seemed more restless than before, as if the storm had awakened something inside her. At night, when the two moons rose, he finally noticed it. Her skin, it glowed softly, more than usual. Veins of light ran across her arms and neck, pulsing like rivers of fire beneath her skin. The engineer froze. "You're glowing." She looked at him, eyes wide, as if caught. Then she turned away. It happened when planet strong. "What do you mean?" She was quiet for a long moment before whispering, "You must know truth." They stopped. Near the ruins, the circle of stones that had once saved them from the hunters. She stepped into the center and placed her hands on the ground. The stones began to glow, brighter and brighter, until the whole circle pulsed with light. The engineer shielded his eyes. "What are you doing?" Her voice was heavy. "Showing you." The ground shook, and visions filled his head again. He saw ships falling, not just his, but many, over many years. He saw humans, aliens, strangers all, crashing here. Some fought. Some died. Some vanished into the earth. And then he saw her. The alien female, younger, standing in the same ruins. Her body glowing brighter, her face full of fear. The planet wrapped around her, pulling her inside, changing her. The vision ended. The stones went dark. The engineer gasped for air, his body trembling. "That was you." She lowered her head. "Yes. You're not just stranded here." His voice shook. "The planet, it made you." Her silver eyes met his, full of pain. "I was like you. Long ago. Crash. Alone. Planet. Take me. Now part of me, not mine. Part of me. Planet." He stepped back, his heart pounding. "You're saying, if you're not fully alien anymore, you're connected." "Yes," she whispered. "That is why I survive. That is why I cannot leave." The engineer's chest tightened. All this time, he thought she was only another survivor like him. But she was something more, something the planet had shaped, maybe even trapped. "Why didn't you tell me before?" he asked. Her face was heavy with sorrow. "Because truth hurt. If you know, maybe you not trust me. Maybe you hate me." He shook his head, torn between anger and sadness. "You saved me. Again and again. How could I hate you?" Her eyes softened, but her voice was sharp. "You still want to leave. But if you leave, planet will kill you. Like it, kill others." He clenched his fists. "No. I can fix my ship. I can call for rescue." I have to try. She stepped closer, her glowing skin casting light on his face. If you stay, you live. If you leave, you may die. That night, they sat in silence. The communicator lay between them, dead and broken. The engineer stared at it, thinking of Earth, of home. But every time he looked at her, he felt the weight of choice. She leaned back, her eyes closed, her body glowing faintly under the moons. For the first time, he saw her not just as an alien or a survivor, but as someone caught between two worlds. Just like him, he whispered, almost to himself, maybe home is not where you come from. Maybe home is where you survive. She opened her eyes slowly, her silver gaze locking on his. And where you belong. Suddenly, the communicator flickered. Her voice broke through the static. Survivor. Coordinates received. Rescue on the way. The engineer's heart leaped. Rescue? Finally, rescue. But when he looked at her, her face was not joy. It was fear. She shook her head slowly. Rescue, not safe. Planet, not let you go. The communicator flickered again. A countdown appeared on the small screen. 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 46 seconds, the engineer's breath caught. A ship was coming. In 2 hours. He looked at her, his chest torn apart. She stared back, glowing, her voice a whisper filled with both hope and pain. Now you must choose. The countdown on the communicator kept flashing. 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 46 seconds. Then 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 45 seconds. Time was running. The engineer stared at the small blinking screen, his heart pounding. Rescue was coming. A human ship, maybe his last chance to escape this nightmare. But beside him, the alien female stood silent, her silver skin glowing under the moons. She looked at the communicator as if it was a curse, not salvation. You happy? She whispered. But you do not see, he frowned. See what? Her voice trembled. This planet never lets you go. Rescue? Not rescue. It is test. Always test. He shook his head. No. I've fixed things before. I can fix this. I can go home. She stepped closer, her glowing eyes locked on his. Home or trap. You choose wrong, you die. The night grew darker. Clouds swirled. The ground trembled softly, like a heartbeat beneath the soil. The planet was awake, watching the engineers. Hands shook as he picked up the communicator. He thought of Earth, his family, the cities of light, the machines he loved to build. He had dreamed of returning ever since the crash. But then he looked at her, at the alien who had saved him from beasts, who had pulled him through storms, who had stood by him when everything else was broken. He whispered, if I leave, you. She lowered her eyes. Stay. I cannot go. Planet inside me. His throat tightened. He could not imagine walking into the rescue ship and watching her fade into the forest, alone again for endless years. The communicator beeped louder. 1 hour, 45 minutes, and 0 seconds. Then a shadow crossed the sky. The rescue ship? It was small, but bright, cutting through the clouds like a blade. The engineer's chest filled with hope and fear at the same time. He ran forward, waving his arms. Here, I'm here. The alien female grabbed his hand, pulling him back. Wait, look. He froze. The ship did not descend gently. It hovered above the ruins, where the ancient stones glowed. Beams of light scanned the land, burning the ground as they passed. It was not looking to rescue. It was hunting. The engineer's heart sank. No, she whispered. I told you, planet calls them. Same always, same end. The ship's beam swept closer. The ruins lit up, the stones responding with pulses of light. The ground cracked open, and guardians of stone and fire rose again, taller than before. They faced the ship, ready to fight. The engineer stared in shock. His rescue was not rescue, it was war. The alien female pulled him close. You see now? Planet never let go. Only choice, fight it, or live with it. He looked at her, his mind torn apart. If he went to the ship, he might die. If he stayed, he would never see Earth again. But if he stayed, he would not be alone. The ship fired. A beam of light struck the Guardians, shattering one into pieces. The forest screamed. As trees caught fire, the planet roared, shaking the ground, answering the attack. The communicator in his hand flickered again. A voice shouted, "Survivor, run to the ship now." His eyes filled with tears. Run to the ship. Run home. Leave her. He turned to the alien female. She stood calm, glowing brighter, her body alive with the planet's energy. She was ready to fight, ready to stay, ready to survive. Her voice was soft but sharp, cutting through the chaos. Choose me or them. The engineer's chest burned. He thought of Earth, of family, of the life he had lost. Then he thought of the bond they had formed, the storms they had endured, the moments of trust that had saved them both. The communicator beeped louder. The ship's engines roared. The planet screamed, and in the middle of it all, he made his choice. The story does not say what he chose. Some say he ran to the ship, desperate to return to Earth, only to discover too late that rescue was a trap. Others believe he turned his back on the sky and took her hand, choosing to stay on the living planet, building a new life in a world that tested him but also gave him love. The truth remains hidden. Only the planet knows. But one thing is certain: that night, under the twin moons, the human engineer and the alien female stood together at the edge of fate. And whatever choice he made, it changed both of them forever.